A lack of effort doesn't mean to try harder. But how many times have you seen somebody else's ambiguity or lack of effort or value for a relationship with you as an opportunity or evidence that you're not doing enough and you should do more? And something I really have just been observing in different ways and also experiencing is just our emotional dances that we have in our interpersonal relationships. Sometimes we may not recognize the subtext of a lot of things, of what's being said or how people are behaving or how we're behaving, because our desire for connection is so heightened, it's so dire, it's such a certain level of desperation that we operate in that goes against what we say we want, right? We say we want these healthy, consistent relationships, but we are not practicing consistency with our boundaries. We want people that are sure of us, but we are not practicing certainty in terms of like how we deserve to be treated or what we want. And in consequence, that will lead us into a lot of foggy dynamics, okay? And sometimes we are so focused on people who are not present that we are not looking at the people who are present as evidence of, hey, is this person reflecting back what I say I want? And just because this person is not what I desire, are they still showing evidence of me growing away from it? You'll hear certain messages or certain things that people say that are very clear indicators that they are not looking to participate in the relationship. And also, it's important to pay attention to your body and how it responds. So if somebody says, for example, that, hey, I'm not a good texter, or I'm such a bad texter, okay, that's a truth. But how did they follow up? What did they say they are willing to be better at? Did they say anything? Or was that just a complete sentence? A lot of times we need to realize when people are looking for ways out of their relationship with us. And instead of us standing in the doorway, we have to make the exit clearer. And the reason why we make the exit clearer is because we allow other people to enter without having to step over things, without having to fix any broken furniture, or just break down a door that we've built because everybody we met continues to disappoint us. So it's important to pay attention to the nuance, the subtleties that are existing in our relationship dynamics. And also recognize how your body responds. Sometimes when it comes to being a consistent person, or even if you're healing from certain things, right? If you are focusing on being more of a secure individual and you are navigating from a very anxious space, sometimes it's important to just recognize your body, right? When certain things happen, is it a fight or flight response? And then when that fight or flight response takes place, okay, what has been the historical evidence? Is this rooted in truth or is this rooted in my fear? Okay, my usual default pattern. And if it is rooted in truth, you get to ask yourself and explore, well, how can I prove it? Sometimes it's just in conversation. Sometimes it's just in patterns. Sometimes it's just in consistency. There's also consistency in inconsistency. And if you can recognize that, you can now regulate yourself a little bit more, and you can also trust yourself more in terms of what you are doing. You will also stop yourself from engaging in relationships that are clearly saying, hey, I don't value you enough to participate. I don't have the skill set to participate. You are not what I desire. And we also have to stop taking those things as rejection, especially if we say that that is something we don't want. If you say, hey, I want more quality relationships, I want more healthy relationships. Okay, so a person that is not there, that doesn't have the capacity to communicate properly, that doesn't have the emotional intelligence to recognize their behavior, how they're affecting you, or is just not willing to open up or be present with you, they are not what you want. So how can that be a rejection of you? Sometimes we are simply rejecting ourselves by showing up in these relationships. That is a form of self-rejection. There are certain nuances that really do take place. And you can observe it in romantic partnerships. You could observe it in professional spaces. You can even observe it in your friendships. What is the level of consistency that I've had with this person up until this point? What has been the pattern behavior? And when did I notice or feel the shift take place? And what did I do about it? If you are typically the one that jumps into action and you want to fix things right away, or you want to save things, or you think that you're constantly doing things wrong, you may operate from a place of panic. I like to call it first responder behavior because you're rushing to the scene. Sometimes it's okay to play detective. Sometimes it's okay to explore, well, what have I witnessed, okay? Did I do something wrong? All right. And if I did something wrong, what is that? Versus just feeling like I'm wrong, like I'm inherently bad, and that there are certain things about me that people may not like. Did I do something? Approach it from a way of curiosity versus harsh criticism. Ask yourself the question, well, what has happened to change this dynamic? Was I intentional? Yes or no? Was I being what I seek from other people? Yes or no? What has changed? And what have I noticed? And when that person did provide some level of clarity to their ability, what did I hear versus what did I listen to? Right? Because sometimes when someone is telling us, hey, I've just been busy or I got a lot going on, what did you hear and what did you listen to? When you heard this person say that in your head and in your body, what did that translate to you? Something I had to do more of? Okay, did I have to make them love me? Did I have to make them value me? I'm not enough for this person to prioritize, so what can I do differently? Did you listen? Did you listen to your body? Hey, what I'm getting from this is that this person doesn't have the capacity or willingness to prioritize this relationship right now. Am I okay with that? Because while they said they've been busy, they're also telling me what they're occupied with. They're not saying they're looking to prioritize me. They just said, hey, I have other priorities that I find more important or that I value more or that is my comfort. This relationship may not be that for me. And even when it comes to this concept, I've been hearing this a lot, and I've heard it a lot, is like, the outgrowing of friendships, especially, and the low maintenance friendships. It seems like there's this demand for friendships themselves to be easy to dispose of, easy to manage because they don't require much from us, and easy to manipulate in certain ways. That's where the low maintenance comes from, because low maintenance doesn't mean low effort. However, when people are saying that, they're projecting this idea that you should not expect much from me, but you should always be available to me when I seek you out. And there's subtleties there, right? What that person may be saying is, hey, I'm emotionally immature. I'm also avoidant in a lot of ways. And I don't want the responsibility of showing up for you consistently. But I do expect some level of consistency or even intermittency from you when I'm ready. But again, somebody else's lack of effort is not an invitation for you to try harder. And I want you to pay attention when you hear these things. How often do you jump into, I need to fix myself. I need to be different because I watched this person show up for these other things. I watched this person's ability to juggle all these other things in their life. However, I am the weakest link for them. Why is that? There's something about me that I got to fix. What if I told you that a person's commitment to things that are not healthy for them is also an indication of their own health? Is also an indication of their own relationship with themselves. Sometimes people will avoid the healthiest thing in their lives when they're stressed out. The reason why is because we fear failure, okay? We fear being a disappointment. We fear not doing things right. Whereas these other things that we're so used to juggling and being stressed out about or being burned out from, it's manageable, or at least we're willing to manage it. And we all have our reasons as to why. It could be a complex we have. It could be our own fears of abandonment. It could be what we decide to be of value to us and why. It could be performative, okay? We will never know somebody's truth entirely in terms of why they participate in certain things, but we can recognize the truth of how they value the relationship that they have with us. And that's the only thing we should be focused on, because that's the only thing we are in control of. Do I continue to show up? Or do I show myself a certain level of respect and care that I say I desire? You have a choice. When it comes to nuance, when it comes to ambiguity, even when you are receiving clarity or information from a person, do you walk away feeling confused still? You walk away continuing to feel confused. And this is once you learn to check in with yourself, once you are a little bit more intentional about how you function and operate, you can start to recognize patterns in other people and how they function. So you will catch the discrepancies and the deviations, and you will recognize that there seems to be a truth that's being omitted in what's being said. Sometimes it's blatantly obvious, sometimes it's not so obvious. It could be very subtle. But again, before we try to hold a crazy lens on somebody else, it's super important for us to recognize, am I showing that I'm the kind of person that I also say I desire? Or am I a walking contradiction? And we contradict ourselves every time we continue to do certain things to get people to love us. Ask yourself, what does being myself actually look like? No one else is around. Like, how do I function? Okay, what do I fixate on? What kind of questions do I ask? What are my habits? How do I talk to myself? Okay, because sometimes we're communicating certain subtleties and nuances to other people too. We may be telling people that we're okay not being valued. We may be showing people that, hey, you don't have to give me much for me to give you everything. And when people get comfortable with that dynamic, they will feel a little offended when you finally start realizing, hey, I deserve more, or I desire more, and I'm willing to show up with more. But it requires you to be a little bit more aware. Sometimes the truth is in the subtleties. Sometimes the truth is in somebody's refusal to offer up an actual solution, but provide an explanation. Hey, I'm a bad communicator. Okay. Did the person say that they are willing to improve? Or is that just a statement? People will find different ways to say to you that I don't have room for this relationship. And instead of just hearing what they say and immediately meaning that you are not worthy, listen to what they say and recognize, okay, this is also not a relationship I want. So think about that. And in your relationship dynamics, I want you to pay attention to how you communicate a certain level of emotional avoidance or emotional maturity or emotional unavailability. And also how you communicate your capacity for certain relationships. What kind of relationships do you actually desire? And do your habits contradict that? Then I want you to pay attention to how other people communicate with you through their actions, through what they say, through what they obviously do. Okay? And I want you to focus on more of what am I hearing versus what am I listening to? Because to hear is just a sense that we have access to, right? And a lot of times we will hear through our wombs. But to listen means that we actually take the time to critically think, but also process the information that we're receiving before we feel eager to defend ourselves or protect ourselves. Instead, we take care of ourselves. All right? So, sometimes all the time, you will get the clarity that you were seeking. It just may not come in the ways that you desire, but it will always be there. Okay? And just remember, a lack of effort from somebody is not an invitation for you to try harder. And if you fear being abandoned by other people, it's important for you to be a little bit more aware of how do I continue to abandon myself. Take care of yourselves, okay? Take care of each other and take inventory along the way. And of course, take flight.